It is with great pleasure that we welcome you back on Press Asset after 3 weeks of recess because of the senatorial election that the election proper over. Now Press R is on for you on CRTV, and we are just going to give you what you know that we give you all the time, and we're going to start this program greeting everyone who is on board. The heads of state of the Central African Economic and Monetary Community, CEMAC, met in Yaoundé this week in the organization's 15th summit. It was another opportunity for the Central African sub-regional leaders to push forward their common agenda of promoting peace, enhancing harmonious development of member states within the framework of establishing an economic and monetary union. What is holding back such a lofty objective, and what are the possible solutions? This will constitute the first part of this program today. Just 1 week after the International Women's Day, the event appears to have died, only to be resurrected a year later. Before we lay blame elsewhere, we have to look at the woman herself, how she empowers herself, her value systems. Of course, we will look at cultural setbacks, gender-based violence, and other women's rights issues. Ladies and gentlemen, you know those are topics that do not only touch you, they touch the whole society. And he who says women, it is said that when you educate one woman, you have educated a nation. And when you educate one man, you have educated a person. And we are very concerned about issues relating to women. To talk about this topic today, we have men and we have women of substance on the set. I'm going to start with men to reverse the trends of ladies first, because we're talking about women today. To start with the youngest on the set. The youngest on the set is Marcel Fonquen, political desk editor in the Guardian Post newspaper. You're welcome to the set, Marcel.
Thank you very much, Kilian. Thank you, and greetings to all the panelists on board.
I suppose this is your first time on Press Asset.
Certainly, it's my first time.
And we look forward to having a very hectic contribution from you.
God willing.
Yes, I'm going to cross the table. I said men first today because women want to tend the trends. Dr. Ta Humphrey Ntangtang, political scientist, economic science researcher, and so many other portfolios that we're going to limit others. For now, we are very pleased to have you on Press R today.
Thank you very much, Kilian. It is my pleasure to be at this platform. I want to thank you sincerely for inviting me, and also to say thank you, the panelists, particularly to the former Uncle Lady, erudite journalist, J.C. Atogo. It's a pleasure.
Erudite. I like that. And she is the one I'm going to introduce next. You see my ascending order of introduction. I'm going to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, J.C. Atogo Ikukoli, who is, as he says, erudite, senior journalist, women's rights advocate. We are once again pleased to have you on Press R. J.C.
Thank you, Kilian. It's my pleasure to be here again.
You're most welcome. Now, for those who do not know, is a title. It's a title of a Queen Mother?
Yes.
Queen Mother. We should not doubt why we call her and we call her with a lot of respect. You should give her that respect, because when she goes back home, also everybody bows when she passes. Gladys Viban is a women's rights activist. We're very pleased to have you on Press Asset today.
Kilian, it is always an honor, a delight, and most importantly, a blessing to be on your platform, and we are looking forward to an interesting conversation. I want to also doff my hat to all the panelists and to say we're looking forward to chatting together.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to enlighten our viewers on some of the topical issues that we have, and also on women issues especially. At this point in this program, we usually give you press review. It's our essence of being here. For today, we apologize. We don't have press review today, but we want to give special greetings, appreciations, and greetings to some of our press men, publishers who make sure that we have the newspapers every week. We're talking about Christian Ndah. Christian, who is the publisher of the Guardian Post newspaper, is a daily. It's even published right up to Sunday. We have today's edition already on. We want to say kudos to Gerard Ndikum of the Horizon. That is another newspaper. We never ever missed out on that. We always have copies. We have Richard Ndah Lajong, who's the Guardian, not the Guardian, the Herald Tribune is always made available to press hour. Where each time you see us reviewing that is made available free of charge to press hour. We want to say thank you and a happy day to Stephen Ojong of the Median newspaper. Is the publisher who also makes available the papers. We have Lucas Denning of the Reporter, Ndi Eugene Ndi of Newswatch, Cham Victor of Municipal Updates. We want to extend gratitude to Budi Adams, the Post, also to Yerema Kinin Som. The Cameroon Insider, we've not been having that. We want to extend our appreciation. Also, me, Nze Chiodo, The Voice, Tricia Oben, that's in the southwest, especially in Limbe, the Don, Norbert Wazo, the Son, Chief Zaki of late, may his soul rest in peace, the Eden newspaper, Tim Finian, Lifetime. Those are just some of the people. We have their newspapers very regularly, and I wanted to thank them for giving us the papers each time we need those papers, and for apologizing to our viewers that we could not have press review today, not because the papers were not available, but because of something that concerns us. It's an internal problem. And at this level, we are going to go straight forward into the first topic, which before we even go, we cannot miss out on the most topical event in Boya, the floods that have left people in Boya wanting. Let me start with Fonkwen. As a newsman, I saw that in the Guardian Post.
It's Maxwell Fonkwen.
Fonkwen, yes.
You know, it's quite unfortunate, but it tells us that across the board in the nation, there are a lot of issues we joke with. Because if you look at Boya, you look at Limbe and Douala and Cameroon, those are towns that have some, the allocation demands a lot of studies. But we see ourselves where municipal authorities just give authority to construct anywhere. People are building on the passageway of water, and then today we are facing a calamity. I think our authorities need to sit up. When you are entrusted with the public office, do the right thing for posterity, because we've just lost 2 young Cameroonians, and it's really painful. So our authorities need to do a lot of work, because if you look at I watched your news, I saw they are saying that the governor has given instructions. It's not the place of the governor.
Instead of blaming the water, for overflowing, you are blaming the people. Should blame the water for.
We are blaming the authorities. There is see, God has an infinite power, but there are things entrusted to man to do. You don't wait for God to come down from heaven to take care of certain things, because those are things we know where Boya is located. There are actions that are supposed to be taken every other time. We know the rains were approaching. What did we do? We sat quiet, and now you are telling me that you are going to demolish houses. Who cares?
Oh, you should care, because there are people living in those houses.
What about those outside today? Yeah. Who pays the penalty?
Yes, I think it's really a sad occurrence. It's catastrophic. And while I will not go back to the point he's made about, the authorities doing the right thing by the people of Boya and Cameroon in general, I'd like to say that I think we need to change our frame of mind with regard to the weather conditions. There is climate change, and we have to take that into consideration as we do any planning right now for building, for town planning, because there are a lot of other issues besides the climate change. The way we are managing our environment. If you look at the rivers around town, they're filled with bottles, plastic bottles that
Virtually
are
blocked.
never going to degenerate. Our sewage systems are not good. We don't channel, waters, rivers, any bodies of waters that are going through the town correctly. So any rainfall causes, a disaster for the poor citizens of, the towns that are affected. So I really sympathize with the people of Boya for what has happened and extend my condolences to those who lost lives. Very important.
Yeah, you are a committed Presbyterian, am I right?
Yes, I am.
And then when we were watching those images and seeing how the Synod office was about to go, we were saying, hey, let us hold our breath. What were you saying?
It was indeed a harrowing thing to look at. And I think my heart must have dropped to my stomach. But let me first of all say that I want to empathize, again, as Jesse said, with the people of Boya, for those who've lost lives and, they're mourning their lost and their loved ones. I also want to empathize with those who have lost property. We know how long it takes for you to be able to put up a building and things like that. So we just want to lend our voices to say this is really terrible and to send our condolences and our sympathy to the people of Boya. And that said, when we saw the gushing of the water, and again, I'm just going to reiterate this, it is a wake-up call. Climate change is a reality. We cannot afford to bury our heads in the sand and act as if we do not know what is going on. What are the parameters for construction? The young gentleman just talked about it. Jesse talked about cleaning the gutters. What do we do to make sure that when we construct the buildings, we make allowances for gutterways, so that when water comes in, this is Boya we're talking about. We know that it is rocky soil. We know that when it rains heavily. It is not something that just happens to us. You understand? We could see this coming. So how prepared are we?
Thank you.
We talk about emergency preparedness and systems that will flag, warning, weather warning systems that would flag some of those things, so that the citizens are ready for this and prepare themselves for the worst case scenario.
Thank you very much, Gladys. Dr. Humphrey. Gladys, the two first speakers, Marcel and Jesse, has joined them to say that this should be a wake-up call. And we know that Boya, the whole of that area is a high-risk zone. We have seen the volcano vomited magma before. This should be a wake-up call that should not only handle the flooding, should go as far as making sure that the mountain up there has been very, very kind, that it sends it away from people. It could decide one day to send it to the town. Do you confirm that?
Thank you very much, Kilian. The first issue is that the incident in Boya is very, very pathetic and horrifying. And like the other panelists said, we should avoid building on risk zones. And I want to use this platform to call on the Ministry of Land Tenure and Surveys. They should not give land certificates, land titles to people to build in risk zones. Yeah. So you saw what we watch on television. My God, I saw how it was very, very pathetic. So we should avoid risk zones.
We should avoid that. I was making mention of the wake-up call. It's also the Mount Cameroon. Boya is an active Mount Cameroon. We have seen magma. We have seen the volcano activity of that mountain. Sometimes it's just so frightful and can be destructive if at one time, instead of sending it down to the other side of the mountain, it sends it down to the habitation zone.
Exactly.
With that, we're going to move on to our comment of today, and our comment is on the just ended 15th summit of the heads of state of CEMAC in Yaoundé that was chaired by the President of Cameroon, His Excellency Paul Biya, who has been president of that organization since 2019, and his mandate ended. He handed it over, according to the text of that organization, to the President of the Central African Republic, Akanj Todora. Well, this was a very successful event organized. I'm going to a political scientist first, because that is an economic, but we had politicians at the helm of that. Yes, Humphrey.
Yeah, thank you very much. The 15th summit of CEMAC. 3 key words that the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, said: solidarity, fraternity, and cooperation. To me, it was a very successful summit, highly attended by all the 6 Central African presidents. And in the course of it, he made mention of the attacks by Boko Haram insurgency in the north and the rebels from Central Africa. The pernicious attack that led to the death of one of their brothers. He qualified one of their brothers, former president of Chad, Idris Deby Itno. So I want to say that it was a very, very successful conference.
Successful indeed, because the objective of CEMAC is to promote peace. That's what you're talking about. To also promote harmonious development of the very member states of the organization, especially within economic and monetary union. Given that there are politicians who are at the heads of states summit at that level of the conference of heads of state. Yes, yeah, you watch it. I think you must have also watched it and said, yes, this is what we have to say, but we have to say that and do it.
Definitely, like you say, you put your mouth where your money is. But again, critical issues around peace and security and stability within the region were discussed. And of course, we know that without the peace and the harmony and the stability, there can be no development. And so I think that the fact that they highlighted this discussion was very important and was critical at this time, especially given what the region has been facing and the various countries, even our country, Cameroon, is going through. So I think that it was key for us to look at it. But because I always look at things through gender lenses, I observed the gaping absence of women in this discussion. So I've been wondering, how could they be talking about peace and harmony and stability, and the women are not on the platform? So that to me was a concern. But with regard to the topics and the issues that were discussed, I am very pleased.
And we know that they are listening to you, they are watching you, and it is a concern to some of them too. The outgoing Vice President of the CEMAC Commission. Yes, was a lady. She's a lady, but since she's gone out, we can put that in the past tense. Madame Fatima from Chad. Jesse, you also watched it. What actually caught your attention?
Before I come to that, I will pick up from where Ya left off to talk about the gender aspect of it. To say that women, it's an American actress that said women are the real architects of society. And when you're talking about peace, when you're talking about fraternity, the women are at the center of this, because they are the backbone of the society. They are the center, in the sense that they raise the men and women, the citizens of all the countries. So women need to be in these discussions. And it is important, I mean, it was a constitutional meeting, but it is always important for brothers or brotherly countries to meet and talk, to evaluate, the situation of their living together, of the harmony within the region. But I was happy that they talked about solidarity and fraternity, following what has been happening to Cameroonians in these brotherly and fraternal countries. You know, it's no secret, it's an open secret that they've been having a lot of problems. We have been chased from those countries, you know, several times, and some people have lost their lives.
Well, not from all those countries.
So I said some of the countries. Yes,
Equatorial Guinea, to be very
precise.
exact.
Okay,
Yes,
I didn't want to be calling names, name and shame.
No, we have to do that because it is part of why they are coming together. That out of the 6 countries, there are 4 that are actually moving on one track, getting that fraternity development and harmonious living together.
Yes.
There are 2 others, Equatorial Guinea and Gabon, that are still
holding back. And you know, they exist. This body exists because the people of these countries exist. So whatever decisions they take, they should be binding on the people of the countries. If we cannot live together in harmony, then there's no point having a union, you know, because we are the key. If we cannot move between the different countries freely, if we cannot, you know, be able to live in these different countries freely, you know, in harmony with our brothers, then there should be no economic body to be, you know, that should exist, because they don't have any point existing, no reason to exist without the people.
Thank you very much. That was really succinct what you said. Maxwell, now we are going to ask you to give us some of the problems of integration, because it's mostly all about that in the Central African Sub-Regional Organization, CEMAC.
Kilian, I hear you say it was a very successful meeting. Granted, what is the impact? That should be the key issue. It's a successful meeting, and so what we are talking about, the impact on about 60 million people who live in CEMAC. As far as I'm concerned, I look at it from the perspective of being what I call the political showbiz. People just enter their planes, jet out of their country, you jet back in, and then the population. This is a sub-regional has been mutating from maybe 1959. We are in 2023, and we are having the same problems going around the circle. And you see, sometimes I expected that at the end of a meeting like the one we just had a few days ago at the Unity Palace, which was flamboyant in nature, those presidents were supposed to have granted a joint press conference. There they will respond to serious issues affecting the sub-region. But you just sneak into a hotel, you are taken to the Unity Palace, you go indoors after 2 hours, you come back, and then they read some high-sounding grammar, and there is nothing on ground. We see the people suffering day in, day out, and I think we need to overhaul this so-called CEMAC. And
Maxwell, I covered that summit.
You covered, I also followed it. You covered doesn't mean that you...
This is what I want to, I allowed you to vent your...
I'm not venting, I'm giving my own perspective.
But I just want to draw your attention to the fact that in CEMAC, you have the summit, you have the ministerial council, and made up of experts. The experts are made of the ministers.
Can you listen? Now, let me allow you keep on naming commissions upon commissions upon commissions, and some committees with experts with PhDs, and we are talking about the common person in the CEMAC sub-region.
I just want to tell you
the economic impact of this summit.
You talked about interviews. I'm telling you that those are experts who prepare all those.
Even the presidents are also
granted. I'm talking about ministers. They granted interviews to some press organs at different levels. Those are the people. The president worked on what the expert had done, and they did it 3 days upfront.
I don't know if you are aware of what delegated powers.
The question
the people of CEMAC, they voted their various heads of state. The question tell me about ministers.
This is the question I ask you. What are the problems?
The problems first, the very first thing which we have to admit is that the countries are not yet ready to integrate. The leaders are just pretending. Except for the general in charge who just came to power in 2021, and the professor in the Central African Republic. Paul Biya has been around for the last 40 years. Theodora Obiang has been around for decades. The same with Denis Sassou Nguesso. They know the evolution of CEMAC, and from their heart of heart, I'm sure they will agree with me that there is nothing palpable on the ground that somebody can say that this thing is a product of CEMAC. Why should we in 2023 still be thinking of a common passport?
Have you ever tried to go to Congo Brazzaville on land
I knew you were going to say just that example. Is that
no? Can you answer? Can you answer? It's not a quarrel. It's not a quarrel. Can you answer? Can you answer? Have you ever tried to go on foot? That's go on road by road?
No.
I have gone and I have crossed with no problem. Have you ever gone to the Central African Republic by foot?
You might have gone because you are on a mission to come to the journalists.
We are talking about the common people and the investors interested in doing business. The Geri Bridge in Kusiri that links Cameroon to Chad. You see people crossing. There is no problem. That is free circulation of people and goods. There may be problems, but you point out the problem. Do not damage what has been done.
What has been done in the first place?
Okay.
The only thing that we have.
Do you have examples?
We have things on paper that are not implemented.
Yes,
Achieved?
Dr. Humphrey. Political
things that the CEMAC region has achieved.
Yes.
I think maybe before we go to what the things that the CEMAC region has achieved, I think that he makes a very critical point that the integration within the sub-region is still problematic.
Yes.
And so this needs to be looked into more critically. Now, my question would have been, what are the ways that you think that you can propose? Because sometimes we can diagnose the problem and talk about it, or
we're moving towards that. We want to diagnose the problems, then we'll go for solutions.
And Jesse talked about being people focused. You know, that all the policies and the decisions, which the leaders should make sure that you know, it is for the people, because they are the ones that elected them into office. Granted. So we need, therefore, to find out pathways how we can make this integration more a reality.
Yes.
Right? Because you think that it is a huge problem, that it has not taken place. And you have to understand that as human beings, when you live in any given community, there is bound to be some kind of conflict.
Obviously.
Right? So when the conflicts come, it is not that we should bury our heads and say, okay, no, let's run away from this problem, or we should just use the you know, the gun or the knife or whatever, you know. This is not, we should sit down like they just did in the CEMAC summit, to sit down and say, okay, let's put our heads together. We have come this far. Maybe with more discussion, we'll have better results. So let's talk about it. So I think that it is, in a way, in that regard, it's a success, because coming together.
Let me tell you why what you are saying cannot work. It cannot work because the leaders have not first of all accepted that this thing is not working. We keep fooling ourselves.
Yes, Dr. Humphrey, has diagnosed a problem and has given a solution. I wanted us to enumerate the solutions, that's the problems before solutions. Can you identify some problems and their solutions?
Yeah, as far as the problems are concerned, I'm going to talk on three main issues. I will talk on international responsibility, I will talk of CEMAC itself, I will talk of regional integration. First major problem we are facing in the CEMAC region is that of insecurity. The second major problem is the principle of democracy, human rights, rule of law, good governance, social dialogue, and gender issues. Now, like the young man said, if you look at Cameroon, let me start with Equatorial Guinea. For close to 40-something years, authoritarian rule, no change. You look at Chad, civil wars, massacres. For close to 30 years, the president was assassinated and his son took over. You look at Congo, for so many years, Sassou Nguesso has been there. So the issue of good governance in the CEMAC region is a fact. They are not respecting it. And that is why people are bitter. We want change of power for continuity. Another big problem is movement of goods and people. In the CEMAC region, it is difficult to go to Equatorial Guinea. It is difficult to go to Gabon because the introduction of the digital passport or biometric passport, these two countries, Gabon and Equatorial Guinea, they are not ready. But in Cameroon, Chad, and
Central African
Republic and Congo, there's no problem. Yeah, so it's a very big problem. You see how Cameroonians were sent away from Equatorial Guinea and things like that. Another very important problem here is that of infrastructure.
Yes, it's a
About
big problem.
20% of the roads are not connected, even with railways. Now, we have close to 150,000 kilometers in the Semak region. We have just about 20% of the road network and even railways. It is of recent that Cameroon, Samalima, Weso, the road has passed, and Cameroon, Chad, but in other areas, it is we have so much.
Those are the problems. Now, solutions, beginning with you.
Solutions. So much is being done as far as infrastructure is concerned, like what I've just cited. You have so many projects, like
second generation program.
Let me just
they have a program that starts from 2023 to 2028, a new program that is already on with projects that are going to link the countries and then develop the infrastructure you're talking about.
Let me just give you a rundown. You have from in the domain of road construction, you have from Toboro, Cameroon to Mandu in Chad. You have Yaoundé, Boulowa, Ambam, Cameroon, Oyem, Gabon. You have a Boulowa, QC, Cameroon, Ebibiye, Equatorial Guinea, and you have Samalima in Cameroon, Weso in Congo, border roads. All these projects are on course.
Yes, thank you very much. So at least we have ended by saying that something is done.
Yes, it's being done. But I wanted to say that. I just wanted to give a solution.
After Jesse.
Yes,
after Jesse, you was.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so thank you. So I was saying that, we can't really invent the wheel. There are other regional bodies that exist. There's the West African body, the ECOWAS. Let's even go to Europe, the European Union, where we have border-free unions, regions. It is, if you want to be together, you have to bring down the barriers, and these people have done it successfully. You can travel from Nigeria all the way to Ghana with no problems, no checks, nothing. They can go back and forth. They can transport goods, which makes it economically easier for the nations, for the nations, for the different nations, and for the region. So we don't need to invent anything. We don't need to spend time thinking of strategies. Everybody does copy and paste these days. Let's copy
the right
see
thing,
what paste it. Yes, the right thing, paste it, and contextualize it.
Thank you
and
very
that's
much.
it.
Thank you very much. Yes,
Kilian, I was saying that resource mobilization for huge investments that can affect the entire sub-agency problem. And the only thing I can pick out from the 4 years of President Pobia at the helm of CEMAC is that we're able to have the dual stock exchange. There was a merger of the two stock exchange in the sub-region. And now the problem is, if you look at our stock exchange market, very few enterprises are enlisted there. And so that is a challenge to mobilize huge investment capital. And if we don't have that, it will be very difficult to execute projects like the one Doctor was naming.
You know why I like this program? I like someone, he has, by himself, said that something has been done.
I didn't say something was done. I didn't say something was not done. I said, but if I have to give them a mark by 1 over 100.
I am still going to rebound on the gender issue and as a solution to this problem. If the men have been doing this for well over 40, 50 years, and we're not making any headway, women's leadership is people-centric.
Yes. Thank you very much.
So I think that maybe we need to bring some women on board to see how we can reach out to the people, as you were saying, so that the people will feel the impact of the programs that are being carried out.
That is a very perfect transition from this topic to the next topic on this set, which is on women, and we talk about the International Women's Day that was celebrated 1 week before this time, and I've not heard anything said about that International Women's Day again. We are asking whether you kill it after celebrating and you resurrect it 1 year after. We're going to raise issues of women's rights here, making reference to that. And the theme for the 2023 International Women's Day, the Cameroon version, is for an inclusive digital world. innovation and technology for gender equality. There's equality in all the themes that I have noted. In 2022 was gender equality today for a sustainable development tomorrow. In 2021 was women in leadership achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. Then I went back 10 years to 2010 to say equal rights, equal opportunities, progress for all. Equality. Yeah, what is it all about?
Let's start with the gentleman. Let's get the he for she, and then we can chime in.
Yes. We send the ball, we give you a pass.
Yeah, thank you very much. In 1857, 8th of March in the United States of America, in a textile industry, about 129 women came out en masse to demand for their rights, to clamor, they agitated for their rights, for the increase of salaries and better working conditions. And these women were executed. So on the 8th of March 1910, this day was declared National Day for the Women. And again, I want to say here that it is a reflection for the women, for their rights and the violation of their rights. It is a day for the women to sit and reflect on gender balance.
And let me, before we continue, appreciate one woman who within the framework of the celebration, some say they are not celebrating, the 2023 International Women's Day, decided to buy the shirt and tie that I'm wearing and sent to me from the United States.
Wow.
Yes, I have to say thank you to you, Dr. Irene Barika, Professor of Education, Research and Director of Quality Assurance, the ICT University Global. That's what she did for me, and I have to appreciate her.
That's women for you. I told you we make a difference.
I'm waiting for your own gift. Now, so we were talking, Dr. Humphrey, just gave us the genesis of the International Women's Day, which is not positive because there was a problem before that was instituted. From that period to now, are you breaking grounds?
Definitely. We're definitely breaking ground. It's been slow, but we're definitely doing so because there are more women today who are independent than they have been, over the years because of education, because of the awareness that has been raised, every year concerning women, because of the he for she movement, where the men have joined, and are making a contribution to it. There are reforms in the business world, economic reforms that have also improved the opportunities for women to get into careers and be able to work, and have made the workplace even more convenient and comfortable for women. There have been quotas that have been taken that have raised more women to leadership positions, not enough, but more. And there are also cultural barriers that have been brought down, so have liberated women to be able to do more than they were able to do before. Stereotypes have been erased in a number of areas that has permitted women to get into the STEM system, so I think that the progress has been made. Women are more independent than they've ever been.
And I have women who don't just want to hear about celebrating that day. Some of them enlightened, well educated, they say no, they have no reason to celebrate. They go when people are going to march parts in the public squares, they go back home and say no. What you are talking about, the pace has not convinced them, so they need something more. What do you have to talk about the pace from that period to now?
If I might chime in, and I like the fact that Dr. Humphrey went back to the genesis and the beginning of the International Women's Day. I want to pivot to 100 years after the celebration of the International Women's Day. During the centenary celebration, the President of the United States at the time, Barack Obama, instituted a Women's History Month because he realized that putting or talking or discussing women's issues just for one day did not suffice to highlight, the achievements that women have made and their contributions to society. You see, why do we talk about a day and why do we celebrate? I will ask you the same question. We have a World Health Day or a World Cancer Day. Why do we do that? Because we want to heighten awareness on certain problems or challenges or disparities that exist on a certain subject matter. We have realized that well over 100 years, women still continue to face disparities and gaps in education, in health, human rights, leadership, positions of power. So we need to keep bringing these discussions onto the platform so that people can be aware that it is a people problem and not just a women's problem. I read a quote somewhere that said, men of quality respect gender equality.
Wow.
And so we cannot be talking about gender equality without bringing the men and the youth to the platform, because we are preparing the women to engage in future activities. We need to prepare the young men to be able to embrace these women who we are empowering and raising to take on leadership in the future.
Marcel, men of quality respect women equality.
The issue with women, did you realize what happened a while ago when you first of all gave her the chance to speak? She said no, let the men start. So you see that some of these things are inbuilt in people, and the next morning we start.
I beg your pardon. I need to speak to that. It's a question of courtesy. And being polite.
Let me illustrate.
No. And to your point, again, and I think this is where you're going, that society has educated women to think that men must take the lead. And so when you think about a chief in a village, you automatically see the man. But we are saying this, that it is not the male face or the female face that you should be looking at. It is the human face that you should be looking at.
No, nobody disputes the fact that it's a human face. Even God has a human face to everything. There are natural abilities in every human being. But there is something people get confused about when it comes to empowering women. This whole issue is not a war.
It isn't.
People should be talking about gender visibility for women. Should be visibility for women. That is the problem.
What do you mean by that? Awareness.
What does that mean?
Now, the problem is
visibility.
Visibility
for women.
There are a lot of people they misunderstand because they think that's why some people shy away from the discussion. Somebody think that we start talking about women, you are coming to challenge the men, you are coming to press people down. That's why I want people like them. These are enlightened women instead people respect. You people have to change the narrative. Tell the public that this thing is about giving visibility to the woman. Why? I take the example of this platform. Do you know the impact of this mixed platform we have on the society in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
It goes very far.
A little girl maybe in Belemeduka or Beng, we can look at our moms here and say, okay, tomorrow I want to be like this mom.
Great point.
That is exactly.
That is how society needs to evolve. But when women give the impression that it's war, it is a huge problem.
No.
It's an issue of visibility for the women folk.
I agree with you, which is why they have an International Women's Day, is to shine the light on those issues. That is what giving visibility is.
We talked about heightened awareness.
Shine the light.
And shining the light on specific issues. If you see, the theme of this year is about women engaging in digital spaces, in the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. Because in the past, we have realized that women had a tendency to shy away from these areas of study. But we have realized that now the younger generation, they are more daring and they are more, zealous, and they want to engage in all the fields that are possible. I just came out of telling young people today, the young Presbyterians, that you are somebody. You can be whatever, whoever you decide to be. This is what we're talking about. Equality in itself is not a war, but equity is the road to equality. And I will let me explain. Say, for example, you have bicycles that you want to distribute to people, to everybody. Everybody gets a bicycle. That is equality, because everybody gets the bicycle. But the problem here is that that bicycle is not adapted to suit the reality of the person who is getting it. Therefore, you look at the disadvantaged person, you give the person a tricycle. You look at a younger person, you give them a bicycle that fits their own position. So we need to have equitable systems before we can get to equality. That's what we're saying.
This mess we have in Norway and South started. This Anglophone crisis just marginalize people and.
Oh my goodness!
It's unfortunate.
She just took over from you.
When it came to my time, you just clapped her to the scene and she went.
No, we were corroborating your point.
I
We were
have
saying
refused.
that.
I have not refused.
We're just throwing some more light on what we
I
said.
understand.
Yes.
Marcel, go on with your point.
Number two, this issue of Women's Day, you said it just like any other day. There are several perspectives to the day. First, it is good that such a day comes forth. But there is this bandwagon we see around. Everybody says female activists, this for women, this for women. In my opinion, I expect that when such a day comes up, or in prelude to that day, or a few days after, we should have some sort of policy documents, refined research that we can bank on and say, okay, this is where Cameroon was 5 years ago. This is where we are. This is the road we need to take to achieve these things. Those things are good.
Exists.
But if we
empowerment and the family has produced the document.
How inclusive? How inclusive are those documents?
It is inclusive.
Those documents are not inclusive.
They are inclusive.
They are not. I disagree with all of them. Most of those documents.
I invite
Maybe you don't understand my
to
concept
get a copy.
When I say inclusive, it means
yes, let us know.
my concept of inclusivity here means that in drawing such documents, it's not a matter of picking 3 or 4 persons that have PhDs and then you just bungle up some high-sounding grammar.
Definitely that's not what happens.
Not the whole country. Not the whole country.
So
what is it? It's not assumptions.
No, it's assumptions. Because before
the reason why they are not assumptions is because those things don't work.
There's research.
No, that doesn't make no. It's not the problem of the egg
we have to
the
get to the
chicken.
ground and do real work. We cannot be singing the same song every other day.
You are making blanket
We must
statements.
get down
You're
to
making
the
blanket statements.
They are not blanket statements.
Now,
Can you tell us
a
then?
research
They are not
document?
blanket statements because I am telling you reality and you want to live in illusion.
Okay.
It doesn't work that way.
Okay. Let us say you have been speaking. We
Okay.
listen to you. You give the floor to doctor. You have seen how very
Passionate he is about the topic.
Marcel is about the topic.
Thank you very
I
much.
think he came prepared to
Thank you
just throw us
Thank you very much.
Just to say,
Or play the devil's advocate.
that's why you wanted to.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor.
Yeah, so
I want to say that I respect women and women incarnate the world, and I want to say that as far as Cameroon is concerned, there is a great strive as far as equality and equality for women in Cameroon is concerned. So to me, they should not relent. They should continue in that domain. Yeah.
when you say that there are people out there who hold men responsible for putting the roadblocks on the path of equality for women, we men, let me not say you as if they've adopted me as a he for she, and I agree. I promote women's rights and the cause for women to be equal as men. They accuse men when it comes to some cultural practices of being the stumbling blocks. What do you say? With examples from some cultures around the country.
Yes, I would say yes and no.
Yes, first.
In some cultures, women don't have certain rights. I don't want to call
No, give examples.
the ethnic groups here.
Why not?
Yeah. Then,
We are together.
In some, they have all the rights. So, but now, what we are looking forward to now is emancipation for that kind of archaic culture, for them to have a rethink, so that they should give the women their place in society.
Now, I will stay with you. In your hometown,
Yeah,
call it a village,
yeah,
those rights that women go through, one, when the husband dies, two, maybe when they have, some other close person, rights which are only attributed to women. Are you saying they don't exist?
At times, It was, but now things are changing because I come from Manu Division, Southwest region. I'm a
Are the people back there listening to you and
they're listening
what
to
you are
me?
saying?
They're listening to me. It was, but now things are changing. Things are evolving.
And we hear that in the far north and in Manu, in the south,
For example,
you still have the female genital mutilation.
Yeah, I was coming to that. I want to tell you, Kilian, very sincerely that I don't think there's any village in Manu that practices that now.
You cannot say that when
I don't think
the statistics come out that it is still there.
I don't think, except you prove me wrong.
We are then sending you as our ambassador to go and make sure that
no problem.
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
Can I say something? Kilian?
Yeah, yes. Before we go
think
to this
that,
other question,
I really do like the passion of our young Marcel, and I want him to be able to use that same passion to create awareness amongst the men folk about the importance of discussing gender issues and enabling the men to perceive women as their counterparts, as other human beings, and not just as women. I think that sometimes too we get too much into the weeds of the little nitty-gritty of why is it a celebration and why are we having a fabric to celebrate and all of that, and we miss the point.
Yeah.
And the point is throwing light, like you said, giving visibility to women who have come this far, how they did it. And I like particularly the idea he talked about, role modeling. That 10 years down the line, a young girl will look at this program and say, I want to be like Auntie Jessie.
Yes, and I have
like
so many
Auntie
of them, journalists who told me that they went to journalism because of Jessie.
And let me say this, and to throw some flowers at Doctor, the fact that you came here with your son, it's so heartening, because this is what we need to do.
Thank you very much.
The young boys need to see their fathers taking the lead in embracing the humanness of women. And I know that this young man is going to be impacted by this.
That's why I brought him to the studio.
Yes,
just give his name. Let us give this.
What's your name again, young man?
The name
just
is
give your name. Yes,
Ta Akumbintan. He's
He's
in Form 3.
Yes, Form 3, who is here with us in the studio.
Yes.
Thank you for making allusion to
Yes.
that. We have about 7 minutes to go to the end of this program. We cannot talk about women's representation in politics, given that that is one of the things that women are clamoring for, because when decisions are taken in their absence, you were talking about this here earlier, they will obviously not think about them the way you want. Now, what do you say? What do you want as women in decision-making positions in this country first? Just to say that we have about 10 ministers out of more than 30. We have a few directors general out of a gamut of so many. We can go on and go on. Except for the Ministry of Higher Education, I got statistics there where women and men, women are even beating men in some of the areas of leadership, of service in that place. But generally we know that that's not the case.
Yeah, while I would like to see more women in government, in decision-making positions in the country, political, legislative, within the councils, because women need to be in those places to be able to take part in the development processes, because they know exactly what needs to be done, being also people-centric, being also at home and the architects of the society. But I want to say that those positions are good, they're fine for decision making, but I would want to have women, my preoccupation is to have women empower themselves first. If women do not empower themselves,
that's the woman herself.
The woman empowering herself, having self-worth, acknowledging it, and developing the inherent qualities that they have, which are good, already. a good starting position. You know, being caring, being kind, being disciplined, being strong emotionally and physically, being tenacious. You know, all those qualities, disciplined, organized. Women have those qualities. They need to develop those qualities, because building a society doesn't just depend on being in positions or decision-making positions. It also has to do with the economy.
Okay.
It has to do with building the society, the family. If the woman is not empowered, she can't grow up her children to become responsible men and women
In society.
who will be able to support each other, to know that men and women are equal, are created to be equal, to be supportive of each other, to work together to build any society. If she doesn't empower herself, she will not be able to economically take care of, because we have a lot to do in the society, you know, to grow our economy. Women have a great part of it, important and significant area. The rural women, the things that the rural women do, the bayam selams, they are the backbone of the society. And so they don't need
Without
anybody
them, we'll
giving
starve.
them these
Exactly,
powers.
thank
They
you.
need to empower themselves.
Yes, Marcel, you are a political desk editor. The senatorial election that just passed, we saw more women as substantive candidates on the list than before.
I don't think there were more. I think it was just a repetition of the quota. That's why we talk about a national policy document. If you have, we're discussing outside before introducing, you have a situation of 2 out of 7. You don't know how many the head of state will include in the 30 is going to appoint. So this issue is, she talked of a very important thing. There is a threat to society. The family is the basic unit of society. Our families are crumbling and people are advancing. If we don't readjust our family settings, I beg you, society will continue to degrade.
Thank you.
Check all the persons you see in society that are influential and role modeling across the world. These are persons that came out of families that were well structured and their parents put in enough. So we need a win-win partnership. Women must know that a woman will never be a man and a man will never be a woman. No matter how we argue and quarrel, a man will never have a womb.
Thank you very much.
So we
very important point.
Yes, I don't want to be a man.
That's exactly what
I am perfectly happy with being a woman.
It's a general message to society, because some people think that we can.
No, we don't want to wear the trousers. We just want to be considered as human beings.
That's why I talk of a win-win partnership.
Thank you very much.
And to come to your point, and we were talking about it earlier on, that there seems to be a disconnect, that we have lost our value systems, and so we need to go back to where it starts, and that is the family. And that's why Jesse is talking about women embracing, I call it, I embrace my meanness, who I am intrinsically as a person, my beingness, the things that make me do the things that I do, my knowingness, the knowledge that I acquire, and put all of that together, I become an amazing human being. And when you are an amazing human being, you become unforgettable. And you can impact the children, your children, who will then be able to change society. So it is critical that we come back to the core value systems of humanity. The system of respect, of love, of peace, of harmonious living, of respect for one another.
Thank you.
These are things that we need to revisit.
Thank you very much. There is a concept, I thought we'll have time. Our time is up. Gender, you call it masculinity. We're going to talk about that next time. Dr. Humphrey.
I call it gender entitlement. The men they think that they are entitled to have certain positions.
Yes,
but I mean, let's just draw the line about the positions. Please, we need to come back to that quota system. You mentioned it. It's very important. We need to have, if they say there's 30%, then let's put the 30% of women. If it is 50% in the policy document, let's do the 50%.
Thank you.
It is not as if we cannot find women who are competent enough to handle those positions.
The message has gone through. Thank you very much, Gladys Viban, women's rights activist. Thank you very much, Jesse Atogo Ekukule, senior journalist, women's rights advocate. Thank you equally, Dr. Ta Humphrey Ntangtang, political scientist, economic science researcher, Marcel Fouquen, who is a political desk editor, The Guardian Post. We owe more thanks to you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us your time, watching this program. That's why we put up for you today. Take the appointment next week, but before next week, Sunday, you have a rebroadcast of Press Hour on Sunday at 2:30. Thanks once again.